All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is once again, the awesome threesome. Eben, Gidjan, and Arun. We are hacking the NetBeans plugin for Couchbase. Um, as part of this hacking series, you are learning how to build a NetBeans plugin, and we're also building a Couchbase plugin as part of that. So maybe what we'll do is, Gidjan, since you are the man of the hour, so maybe share your screen and let's see what the current status is, do a quick review, and then we'll jump into the real work.
Yes, let's do that. So I will begin by sharing the screen. Okay. Sorry, it's taking a minute.
That's all right. You'll see a blue
Seems
icon.
I need to install.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think we're almost there.
Yeah, one thing we were talking about is, unlike using our Skype group, which we created, we should use the Blue Jeans chat for any collaborative messages.
Looks like the presentation's coming up, so that's good.
Yeah, good sign.
Can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes.
Totally. Excellent.
Okay, so where we are is that in the last webinar, what we worked on was showing whether a bucket is indexed or not. So right now you should see NetBeans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can see I'm logging in.
Yes.
So what we can see once we're logged in, and also one thing we want to work on is the performance of this, but that's for a future story. But what we can see is we have 4 buckets, and one of them is not indexed. And as a result of that, we can't see the documents in it. We can see the documents in the other ones because they are indexed. Now I'm going to switch to the Couchbase console.
So one thing that might be useful is, in terms of a usability in NetBeans itself, people will get confused why I'm not able to expand it. So maybe as you hover the mouse over there, we should flash, oh, by the way, this bucket is not indexed.
You can see that.
No, but just the not index message, not yet message may not be sufficient, for first timers. So saying, hey, by the way, right click here and we can help you index it, and then you're ready to go. I'm just trying to simplify
That's exactly what I want to achieve this time.
Fantastic.
That's exactly the point. Okay, so right now, all we're able to do is visualize whether it's or not, but we can't change that. So what I would like to achieve in this webinar is have a right-click menu item on a bucket, able to index an unindexed bucket.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
That's the aim for this webinar, okay?
Okay.
So now that I'm now in the Couchbase console, I can see all the data buckets listed here. And I can see that this one here, customers, has 2 documents in it. But in NetBeans, I can't access those documents because that customers bucket isn't indexed. And I can see that in the console because in the index tab, that customers bucket isn't included here. So it all makes sense. But the question I had to start with was, is there a way from the console to index a bucket?
Yes, from the console there is. It looks like you're using a somewhat older version, but do you know which version you're using? If you click the About in the upper left.
So this would be 4.1 EE. And that's what we downloaded last time.
Okay. Yes. it should be possible to, there should be a tab for GSI there. And I'm not sure why that's not showing up. And it's also not showing the, oh, maybe under view? No, let's see. I guess it's been a while since I've looked at 4.1. So the views are there. I must admit, I don't know why that's not showing up.
Now, this is the standard set of tabs that I have seen on my machine as well. So are you expecting another tab here, Evan?
No, I'm expecting under the indexes tab to be able to create, there should be, let's see. Okay, well, maybe I'm misremembering. So it could be that going through Nickel is the only way to create the indexes right now.
Okay, cool. That's the first thing I wanted to know is if it was possible from the console.
Yeah, but I think in one of the, like in 4.5, for example, there is a query workbench, right, baked into the console itself from where you can fire a query, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So maybe, should we upgrade to the latest release? No?
Well, maybe we can do that between today and the next session, just to have.
Okay, sure. Okay, fine. So the point is, what we want to achieve is that when the user right-clicks on the bucket, that there is a menu item here that says index bucket, and that when that is clicked, that that bucket is indexed. So we can go through the process, but what I'm curious about is the code that would be needed for actually indexing that bucket. So could you provide that code?
Yes, I emailed out yesterday samples of Nickel queries that will create indexes of different kinds. And
okay.
for this particular case, you want a primary index so that you'll be able to retrieve any document. And so just as you've used Nickel queries before using the query API, you'll want to be able to do the same thing again.
So is it this one? So it's basically this, right?
I just dropped the code in the chat window.
Okay. Okay, so this is the code that we need.
Yes.
So I would like to try this out.
The Nickel statement that you'll be running through the SDK.
Yeah. Yep. So the first thing I want to do is actually to test this before we apply it ourselves. Since we right now we know that this one called customers isn't indexed, I would like to automatically index a particular bucket now when we start up. So here's the code I've just copied. So create primary index on beer sample, and then there was another call here. Create index. These are two separate ones, right? So these are two separate calls: create primary index and create index my index.
Yeah. So the second statement is creating an index just on one field to show you an example of if all you needed was to look up by name, then you could create a secondary index that would just do that. The primary index, while it is the most flexible, is also the least performant. So for actually production operations, you'd use more of the secondary indexes on specific fields or combinations of fields.
Okay, so for the moment, let's just use this first one. Create primary index on a particular one. So we have here bucket query.
Well, hold on.
Primary index on.
Actually, Evan, now the ability to query the documents, does that require a primary index or a secondary index will do too? You know, particularly if there are performance constraints.
Yeah. So if you are looking for example, in the The second example I gave you creates an index on name. So if you wanted to be able to search for documents by name, that would be the best option. What a primary index does is it allows you to do a sequential scan over every document in a bucket. And as we all know from databases, sequential scans, while they're flexible, are the least efficient way of getting at data. It's always better to have an index on a field if you know field values.
Okay, so but the thing that I want to achieve is just to see whether, if we include this, whether the this icon changes from red to green, whether we can actually see that the indexing has been done. You know, whether it's the most efficient way of doing it or not isn't the important thing.
Oh yes,
for me right now.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And this is not a production application. I'm just sort of giving.
Exactly. Right.
You ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, all we want to see is whether, if we use this, whether that's going to change that icon. So I'm going to close down this NetBeans.
So, Gijan, I guess in that case, we will use this code, and when the NetBeans boots up next time, it'll automatically create the primary index.
Yes.
Then we will go behind the scenes, delete the primary index, then we'll enable the button and then create it that way.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And okay. So I'm going to clean and build this, which means that this does a Maven clean on the module. And so the target, this basically removes the target folder from the Maven module. And at the same time, we're going to rebuild it so that it does a Maven install. Okay, so here we go. Moment of truth.
Your progress bar isn't progressing.
I guess it's progressing. There is a bit of a delay that we don't see the thing moving.
Okay.
So at this point, we should be able to see the log of the console. I mean, in the console somewhere.
Yes. Impacted this beer sample. This is the first one. Okay, it's worked. Excellent.
We're still waiting for it to be refreshed. We just.
There, now we can see. Yes. Hooray.
All right.
It's worked. It's worked. Excellent. So this is really good news. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new bucket in the console, and it will automatically be not indexed.
Right.
Let me just close my email and go to the Couchbase. Okay, so I'll add a new bucket. Create new data bucket. Custom memory fully allocated. That sucks.
You can delete, one of the demo or the customer's bucket easily. A beer sample doesn't matter.
So yeah,
Sure.
which one is the?
The big one is the beer sample. But I like that one, so I'll keep it.
Customers, yeah. If you edit that, it's set to have 6.3 gigabytes of RAM, and it probably doesn't need that given the 2 documents it's holding. So if you just change that,
I see. So how much should we put in here?
100 should be fine for that's the minimum level allowed. And yes, one tricky thing about Couchbase is when you create a bucket, it by default gives it all the memory available,
Right.
which if it's your only bucket is fine. But for playing around, it's usually good to set it to the minimum, which is 100 megabytes.
Good tip. So I'll call this one friends.
And note that once again, yes, it's trying to give it all the available RAM. So.
And yep. So we'll make it 100, and we'll create it. So friends is not indexed, so we can see that in the index tab. Customers is not indexed, and friends isn't. Good. Okay. Now what you want to achieve is that when you right-click on a bucket node, that if so, let's first just create an action that will be shown for indexing it, and it will be shown regardless of whether it is indexed or not. And then later on, we'll tweak it so that it will be shown if a bucket is not indexed.
Now, actually, that brings up an interesting point. I can see that all the buckets are here. If I go back to NetBeans, is there a way to say refresh NetBeans and show me the refresh list of buckets, or on the Couchbase node?
Not right now, and it hasn't been built in yet. But I think that refreshing should be automatic. And but let's do that feature as well another time. I think that will be a whole topic for another webinar, refreshing the node hierarchy.
Yeah.
Actually, that's we should immediately go to GitHub and make that an issue.
That's going to be in Arun-Gupta, actually.
Yes, I could get to it from here. Okay, so create a new issue. New issue. Automatically refresh node hierarchy. Now,
Evan, is that something that you would do? Automatically refresh the hierarchy, or because given specifically that the number of buckets that are there in a Couchbase node generally does not exceed a single digit, or maybe at the max 10.
Yes. So in terms of automatically refreshing, I mean, I think to get the information takes a second or so, perhaps. So you wouldn't want to be refreshing it too often, but you could refresh it every minute or less frequently, and that would probably and it wouldn't be that necessary, but at least it would keep it up to date with regard to the indexes that are available.
Okay, and I think
I suggest we leave this whole topic for another time, and that we focus on the indexing of the buckets this time.
Okay, that's fine. One thing I wanted to say is this could be a parameter, in the configuration as well, that how often do we refresh and stuff like that. But we can talk about it when we talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that another time. Okay, we can see in the bucket node that the actions are loaded from the from a folder in the file system, which is actions/bucket, and we have already 2 actions in there. Create document action, which right now doesn't do anything. It just displays a text in the status bar, so we need to work on that. And we don't. This is not an action, but this is a listener. That is something different again. So what we want to do is we want to have another action that will be registered in the same location as this one. So you can see that it should be in this bucket category. And if it's in that category, it will automatically show up when you right-click on the bucket node, because here we have action/bucket. So I want to create a new action. Use a wizard for this. and to be conditionally enabled, so it will be sensitive to buckets. So it will take the current bucket, and it will and this is what we will index. And so as a bucket, it shouldn't be displayed in a menu bar or in a toolbar. It should simply be displayed when you right-click on that particular node. And we're going to say index bucket action.
I think
index bucket.
That's one of the things I like about NetBeans is, how it simplifies the boilerplate code creation by these.
Yep, absolutely. So here we have the starting point, and what I'm going to put in here, I'm going to take this little bit of code that we had before and just move it from here, and even just remove it from there. So we have no changes in our bucket child factory. All the new code will go in the index bucket action. Now, NetBeans, the NetBeans platform is going to give us the bucket, and it will be able to do that because we have put the bucket into the lookup of the bucket node. And we can see this here in the constructor of the bucket node. We have said that here is its lookup defined, and into that lookup we have put the bucket object. And so when we select that node and we right-click, we have that bucket available to us thanks to the set from infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that's all very cool. And now we'll just remove this stuff. And wait, the action performed. Okay. And this should be context. And on customers, so this is context name. And this should be replaced by the
bucket name.
And the bucket name, this will be a little bit tricky. Okay. Cool. Let's not do it twice.
String.format, can't you just use %s?
I'm sorry?
If you're using string.format?
Maybe. But I mean, to me, because I'm not familiar with that terminology, I'd rather just use something that I can read.
Okay.
I found that a little bit obscure to me.
That's a very C-like syntax as well.
Yeah. Okay, doke. So it should not be, should this be plus? Yeah, that looks good. All right. And bucket child factory should be unchanged. So I'm just gonna revert modifications and get it back to. What is really nice here is that we have created a new action. We haven't touched any other part of our code. You see?
Right.
This is really nice. We haven't hacked into something else. We have a completely standalone class, and this class could be in its own separate module, because the annotations are going to generate registration entries into the XML layer file that will be loaded into the into NetBeans.
I think that's a very typical and a classical case of convention over configuration. You follow the convention, you put the right annotation, and the class gets plugged in automatically.
Right. So here we go. Run it again. Here we go.
So here you can see the log as it's opening the different buckets.
Yep, exactly.
And we can see
Okay, we can see that.
the demo and the friends bucket are rather small, so they open up rather quickly. The beer sample is a lot of documents, so I think that's where the performance optimization should definitely be done.
Yep. So now I right-click on friends, and I can see index bucket. I can see that on all of the buckets I have this menu item, even though they are indexed. But we can look at that later. So now I right-click and I choose index bucket.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the bucket is indexed, but we need to do something to update that icon. Oh, it is updated. Look at that. It's updated automatically.
It's still showing not indexed yet, though.
Yeah, well, that's a detail. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Okay, it's let's have a look at that. Okay, let's have a look at that. We go to bucket child factory, and
I think somewhere we were setting up the short description.
yeah, it's not bucket child factory. It's bucket node.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, here's get icon, get opened icon.
Line
So
40.
we can do the same thing for get this forget.
I think what we need to do is from the indexed, wherever we indexing it, at that point of time, we should get the bucket and change the description to whatever it needs to be.
Sure. Let's do that right now.
And accordingly change the icon as well.
Well, the icon is already changed.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
So the only thing that isn't changed yet is the description, but
Right.
the icon is changed automatically. So that's because
why this disconnect where the icon changed and not the description?
Because I didn't implement it correctly. You can see here I have a method called get icon and get opened icon.
Got it.
And
got it.
So get icon is what you see when the node is not expanded, and potentially you have a different icon when you expand a node. So now I expand it, and now we could display a different icon. But
Okay.
I have this code for both these actually. Now we need to do the same thing for the description. So you can see I've basically hard-coded this in here. But what you want to do is say get short description.
And we'll override it.
Yep, that's right.
And that's where we see
so we'll just take this
code from 45 to 52, actually 45 onwards, because you're verifying the size.
Yep. It could be handled better. We could have a more generic method for this. String and description.
And then we return description. Well, I think we should do it very similar to the one that we did in get icon. instead of setting up an environment and setting up a variable, let's return from the method itself, from the if
Sure.
block. Keep it clean. We don't need to declare. Just let's make our codes less verbose.
Sure.
Do we need description equals index?
No. Sorry. No. You're right.
Yeah, there you go. Now, if you scroll up a little bit, what is the purpose of line 45 and 46? That would not be required, right? Yeah. There you go.
You're right.
And how about the display name? Display name needs to be changed as well, because we will need to make sure, because if we are adding more documents, that display name would change accordingly as well.
Now this is per bucket, so this is fixed. That bucket name is never going to change.
No,
But
but but if you go back to the code, because you're displaying the number of rows as well, it says result.allrows.size. That could change.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Now the constructor looks really clean.
Yep. Absolutely. Okie doke. Making progress here. Let's try it. So the difference now should be, we should see the description change. So it shouldn't say not indexed yet anymore. But we have now indexed friends. So let's create another bucket that is not indexed.
Okay.
Would there ever be a reason to unindex an indexed bucket? I guess not, right?
Actually, the indexes do impose a certain amount of workload every time the data changes, because the indexes have to be kept up to date. So if you have an index that is unnecessary, perhaps when you go into production, you might remove it.
Okay.
And the other time that you may want to get rid of the indexes when you're debugging, where you want to test the feature, whether it's indexing properly or not.
Right.
But I guess the key point is we don't need a menu item for that unindex the bucket.
Okay.
So today what we are doing is we're only creating a primary index, but I guess we would also need an ability, as Evan, you were saying, creating secondary indexes as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on who's using this, but if this is being used as a way for tuning your database, then being able to create secondary indexes would be useful.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see if we have time to create secondary index today, but yeah.
Yeah, to me, I think that in the context of what we're doing right now, what is important to have is that this index menu item should only be displayed if the bucket is not indexed.
Right.
So right now we're displaying it all the time.
Aha.
So that's a very connected enhancement to what you're doing, and I think that's something to look at.
Yeah. Well, I think two things. Well, another thing related to that is, so enable primary, and maybe first of all, you should change the syntax to change the wording to say create primary index, because that would allow you to query the sequential bucket.
Yep.
And then later on, we can say create secondary index.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. Let's first see if this short description stuff is updated.
Yeah. Now, if I click on the bottom right here, it's saying building dictionary. If I click on that, would it show me the log of what's happening behind the scene?
It won't show it there, but it will show it here.
Oh, IDE log. Okay. Okay. Got it.
Here I can see it.
Yeah. And we can see.
Okay, so now.
Yeah.
So now I right-click on conferences. We can see it is not indexed right now. And I say index bucket.
Yeah.
And
it's still the same. Oh, there you go.
Okay. There it is.
And
so got the. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, we need to do something to trigger that. The description is still the same.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I know what we need to do. Wait. Or I was doing this somewhere else. So this creates bucket nodes. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought we were overriding them. That would be enough.
Yeah, me too. I need to think about this. I'm not sure if we really did clean and build. And at the same time, to make sure about that, I think we're going to change. You want this to say create primary index, right? That should be the menu item.
Correct. That's one thing. Second thing is, if I look at the conference's name, even the name itself in the parentheses is saying 0. The number of documents is not up to date. So both the things have not updated.
Right.
The name, not the short description.
Yep. That's true. Okay, so let's first change this. Create primary index.
Evan, does that name make sense now?
Yes.
Okay.
New primary index. And here's the cool thing again. We don't have to change a property file or something. We can just change it directly inside of the Java code.
Yeah.
Create primary index. And maybe index bucket.
Boom.
Okay. Now the other question was
the
about, yeah, like, so when you right-click, we actually want to trigger something, like trigger a refresh, basically. Refresh bucket list trigger. Hey, we already have that. Haha. So where are we using this actually right now? Let's take a look. Find usages. Something we created in the past. We're using it in different places. Bucket shop factory.
So because we have a refresh bucket list trigger, do you think that might be making those methods that we wrote over there in the bucket node void?
No. Those methods are important to be there. That's just a good way to organize that code rather than having it in the constructor.
Okay.
But we need to do something to actually update, to actually do that update, to actually trigger that recreation. But let's just stick this in here.
Okay.
And see if that will do it for us. So after we do this stuff, we're going to say refresh bucket list trigger, and then trigger that whole sequence. Fine.
Shouldn't we do that only when we create the primary index?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, cool.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay, good. Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Now we need to have another unindexed bucket.
Why?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh yeah.
We already indexed that last one that we created.
Right. For the test.
We need another one. Yeah.
So we might need to add a drop primary index option soon. We'll run out of buckets.
Yeah. Okay, here we are.
Let's enable the log as well.
Actually, I'm going to I want to add some documents in here.
Okay.
Okay, so I right click on it. I say create primary index.
Yeah, that's the right text.
And nothing happens.
And it did work. Well, no, number of documents. Well, so the description is good, but the name is not good.
Yeah. But it might be because Let's have a look. Okay, so the description changed. So that's something, right?
Yeah.
We get points for that. We get
Yeah.
points for that.
Yeah, description change. Icon was changing earlier. The name is still not changing, so we're good to figure that out.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I think it might be because I added new documents to it while things were processing and whatever, you know. That might be the reason.
So let's try to add a document from NetBeans because we have that create document capability there as well, and see if that.
Yeah, but it doesn't work yet. But we haven't developed it further yet. It's just a status bar thing.
Okay.
Do we have some code for quickly creating a bucket?
For creating a bucket or a document?
For creating a bucket. Oh, never mind. Let's okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna go back here. I'm gonna close down this development IDE.
Yeah.
I'm gonna recreate the module binary, and then I'll create another bucket, and we put in some actual documents in there because I think maybe the problem last time was that we were creating buckets and documents while the plugin was working, and it might have screwed things up a bit. So, okay, so create another one and called poems.
Add documents and then configure in NetBeans.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, documents.
All right.
I'll create 4 just to be sure.
Yeah, just to be different. Yeah.
Yeah, to be different.
Those are 4 nice poems.
They're haikus, right?
You remember Jonathan Schwartz's haiku?
Really? No.
Oh, that's how he resigned. Haiku on a Twitter.
Oh, really? Okay.
In 140 characters. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Was it profound or?
Jonathan Schwartz and profound don't go really hand in hand.
Okay. So anyway, let's get back to this. Here we go. Okay, so poems is not indexed, so we say create primary index.
We are waiting for the screen to refresh. It's still stuck at conferences for me.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. Yeah, go for it.
So I'm creating primary index.
Yeah. And then the description and the name should change.
Yep. And the description changes, the name doesn't.
And the icon also. Oh no,
The icon does when I click on it. It does.
So icon, yeah. So that's the part I think that Evan was noticing as well. The icon changes only when you click on it. Shouldn't it change by itself?
It's called a feature, Aaron. That's a feature. Okay, let's take a look. So
Is the method name get display name or is something else?
it's get display name, but there's another one. It's also do this one, get name. So it's actually the internal name, and we're going to do it. Let's just make this one a method.
Well, actually, we can call get display name from here itself.
Yeah.
There is no need to make a new method. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
We lost that code. Yeah, there you go.
And the same is true for these icon guys. Wouldn't be good performance to have that done twice.
Yep, dry is good. And I like the way how you refactored the code and it says, oh, by the way, there are other occurrences. So we'll just change that as well.
Yeah. I was going to say that, but I thought I should let you say that, and you did, so that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and the short description. The thing is, though, that to me, this query for short description, which works, is different to the to this one. That may be the reason.
Yeah. So because we're doing different things in them.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we are getting a nickel query result in both of these.
But we want to have the same result, right?
No, because in one case we want to just create, the. Evan, what do you think?
So let's see. So I guess can you scroll a little bit to the right so I can see what the query is doing? Okay. So that's selecting the indexes from the bucket. Okay, you can scroll back.
I think that's the one. That's the one that's working in the short description, and the other one. This is this one. This works in short description, and this one. This didn't work.
Right.
So I'm going to stick with this one.
Then you can comment the second line as well, because that gives you a result. Line 43 gives you a result. So just comment line 44. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But this should still return the number of documents in a bucket, right?
Yes. That's not the that will return the number of indexes on a bucket. So that's returning whether a bucket is indexed or not. If you want the number of
right.
documents, you need to say select count parentheses star close parentheses from and the name of the bucket.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's why we had a different query actually.
So this one is correct.
Or what we can do is, and Gijan, as we were doing, is take line 60, put it back up there before 43, and then the query underlying, which says select count star, as Evan was trying to suggest.
which is the quickest, the most efficient way of finding out how many documents. Right now, you were looking for how many, you were actually trying to retrieve the documents and counting them, but it's much more efficient to just ask the database engine, the query engine, to tell you how many documents are in the bucket, because it doesn't have to retrieve the individual documents.
And I think that might be
what should I do here?
the issue as well that we were seeing. It is taking too long to retrieve the number of count.
So what should I do instead of this?
So go in line for select count star and curly in the round braces.
Select
count, open parentheses, and then the asterisk, and then close parentheses after the asterisk. You don't need the asterisks and quotes there. And then instead of from system indexes, say from and then the bucket name. So you can remove the system indexes and the where key space ID equals.
And also this, is this correct?
No, you need to remove the system : indexes and remove where key space ID equals.
Okay.
And so remove the equals. There. So you're saying, give me the count from the bucket name. And
then the last comma bucket dot name goes away as well.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
Yeah. I think that should do it.
Okay, and then so right now you're counting the number of rows in the result. You don't want that. You want to get the first row of the result and get the number out of it.
Okay. And then? Sorry, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah. So I think toString should be fine. Yeah, next.toString.
Okay. This looks good?
Yeah, I guess you could do error checking just to make sure that you got a result, but I think for now this should be good.
Right. I think we're too smart for error checking. We're not going to do error checking.
Error checking, yeah.
Error checking is for the birds.
Our users are strong, huh?
That's what exception.
Our users don't mind seeing error messages everywhere.
Sorry,
our users are developers too, so they're used to seeing error messages. Okay, so I need to create another bucket that is not indexed, right?
Well, I think if you restart it, it should retrieve the buckets or the number of documents in each bucket.
Well, we were trying to
make sure it works properly for the ones we have now.
Yeah, man, you're talking about it.
Small bucket.
I wonder what document you're going to create
bucket
in that.
With one entry. Very few. Like one. Let's be generous and we'll make it 2. Okay. So we have 2 buckets.
It's funny, how you can
There we go.
try to create a subtle nuance that I just want to change this one menu item, and we have been hacking this code for more than an hour now.
Yeah. There's another way that we could do it. We could start up NetBeans in a debug mode, and then apply changes whenever we make a change in our code, actually, and we can leave NetBeans running.
We should maybe
We
try
could
that.
do it like that next time.
Yeah, we should try
It might
that
speed
next
things
time.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Exception.
No such element. Oh, error checking, man. We're talking about it now.
Yeah. Sucks.
This is called as optimistic error handling. You believe everything is going to work. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work, then you do error handling.
Okay. So it seems like this query didn't work for some reason.
Yes, and let me see. Now, I haven't tried running this query from the SDK, so I guess I would need to do some more experimentation to understand what's going on here.
Instead of getting an iterator, is there something else that we can use on query itself? Maybe all rows.get.0? Yeah, something like that.
But why would it be toString? Why would toString return a number?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I think all rows.get0, I don't know what that would return. Well, whatever E is.
Element.
And so take a look at what the Java doc was saying for get. No, Java doc for get. I'm sorry, in the SDK context. So if you had control space it, then it'll tell you exactly what does it return. So that returns a util list of what? Go back G and then do control space.
Here.
Go one step to the left.
Nickel.
Yeah. Oh, so nickel query result. So then go after get 0 and see what does it return. Go after dot of get 0 and then do control space. Yeah, here. Oh, that returns only toString. Weird.
Nickel query row. Okay.
Well, it may be that I need to do some homework and figure out the right way to do this over the coming week before the next time we
Yeah, so I think let's resume it maybe next week at this point of time.
Yep.
So next week we can create those. We did primary indexes today. We need to change the current name and the description correctly when a new bucket is created, when the indexes are created. And then next week, maybe what we can also look at is the interface for creating a secondary index as well. So there'll be sort of a logical mapping to it. Evan, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Thanks.
Then I guess for today we'll call it a wrap.
Yes. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Evan and Gideon.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
Talk to you soon.